Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Eric and Shannon Geller, the husband and wife team behind Short Hop Games, the producer of Quests and Cannons, which is currently on Kickstarter. Gellers, welcome to the binge. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, it is fantastic to have you. I am just giddy over this game. When I was going through your Kickstarter page, man, if people love pirates and love interactive gameplay, they are in for a treat. And we're going to go through it on this podcast. But I know myself, I was geeking out pretty hard over this campaign. So congratulations on that.
Thanks a lot.
So for people who don't know, because we don't see a lot of these kind of husband and wife teams in the industry, like how did this all start? This is your first game. So you guys were doing something obviously before this. Where did you guys kind of start out?
Start out with game design, or
just started in the gaming industry in general?
In general. Well, it kind of started off as, us trying to play games together. And with the difference in gaming experience, we found it pretty difficult to find games that we could both enjoy together. Like either game was like the game that I wanted to play would be like behind like a library of game jargon. Okay. And yeah, so I'd try and, bring a game to the table that was, something like Spirit Islanders or something like that, which we tried to get to the table once, and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So we, Shannon eventually found like a game like Splendor.
Yeah.
And that was more approachable for her, but it still had like that nice strategy engine building feel that like I really like in games. So that was like one of the first games that we really got to the table together.
And I could win. Which is important.
That's very important.
Now, is this something you guys been playing like ever since you've been married, or like since you've been together, or is this something more recent when you guys started trying to game together?
I think
no, since Eric's been trying to push this lifestyle on me since the first day we met, pretty much. Hence the name Short Hop Games.
Yeah, we got a good story around that.
This is not limited to board games; it's video games as well. So I think you'll enjoy the Short Hop Games story.
Yeah.
So Eric was like, "Oh, have you ever played Super Smash Bros?" And I was like, "No, never even heard of it." And he's like, "Oh, we should play." So I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." So he bought me a
it was
Nintendo,
the 3D, yeah, it was the 3DS at the time.
Yep. So I was like psyched on the 3DS, and I'm like, "Oh, get me like Donkey Kong, like 2D platformers." I didn't even know that term at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just wanted like those games, and he's like, "Oh, we got to do Smash Bros." So I'm like, "All right." And he's like, "Oh, do you want to train so you can like smash on some nudes?" And I was like, "Sure, that sounds fun." So he made me spend like the next 3 hours trying to learn how to short hop, like one move. And he's like, no, you have to like tap it later.
It's necessary to be good. And you just like, have to be able to short hop. It's the foundation.
Yeah, he's like, you need to like build your foundation, and then you'll be able to like stomp on some nudes, which I have, by the way. I'm bragging because that was a big accomplishment for me. So yeah, that when we were coming up with, oh, what should we name our company, I was like, why not Short Hop Games? Because we want to bring that idea, like start with a solid foundation into like everything that we do. So it's symbolic of that, plus
plus bunnies, our relationship, and
bunnies,
dwarf bunnies.
Short
so
hopping,
got
hops.
wearing the namesake today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dwarf bunnies, dwunnies. That's our logo. So it just works.
And what were you like? What were your day jobs? Like, what do you guys do outside of playing board games and Smash Bros? Like, what do you do like during the day?
For the past 7 years now, I've been a manufacturer's rep for life sciences industry. So it's more the process equipment side of that.
Sure.
So, anything from like tube sets to bioreactors is stuff that we sell into.
So you understand the manufacturing side and manufacturing.
Yeah, so that's actually helped a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has helped him a lot. And I actually own a cleaning company, like residential cleaning. So I do cleaning, organizing, like Marie Kondo, everyone asks. So I'm just saying it in advance. Marie Kondo type activities, which was a huge inspiration for the player boards, because someone literally just asked us that earlier. Like how I was inspired to do the player boards. I'm like, I just put my organizing skills from like organizing people's houses into like, how can we streamline the gameplay here? And I also do interior design as
Nice.
well, and I have my hairdressing license, so all sorts
Wow.
of things.
And I think that's something in this industry that people don't necessarily give themselves credit for is there are so many transferable skills, right? No matter what you do, right? I mean, on the cleaning side, I'm sure sales and marketing is a good part of that, right?
Oh
As you
yeah,
said,
definitely.
like design and, organization, these are things that come into, design, selling, marketing a game, manufacturing, understanding how to deal with suppliers and things like that. These are all skills that are transferable. And I don't think people often give themselves enough credit for that, right? They just assume, oh, board games, I don't know how to launch a board game. Well, you know what? You might be surprised. You might know a lot more than you think when you get kind of under the hood and get beyond just the gaming itself and kind of look at it. Because at the end of the day, it's a widget, right? And whether you're in the medical field selling and manufacturing widgets, or in the cleaning industry, or if you're in the board game industry, it's all the same stuff. You're moving goods from a manufacturing facility to the end user. You're doing client acquisition and sales, and all these things that you can pull from your other jobs. So that's good, awesome for you guys. So what was the so that was the idea behind this game, is you wanted to create something that kind of, I call it like the McDLT or McBLT. Remember that McDonald's sandwich where the hot stayed hot and the cold stayed cold? So there's something for everybody, right? So I think that's the approach you took here. But why the pirate theme? Where did that come from?
So we're kind of like pirate adjacent. It came from a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So on that quest of finding games that we could enjoy playing together. So all of her friends married nerds like me, as it turned out. So at one point, D&D's picking up steam, and everyone's like, "Oh, we should all play D&D." So, being my obsessive compulsive self, I'll write my own campaign, and we can all play that.
I didn't talk to him for like 3 months, and we lived together.
So
Oh.
made this. I was working on this island, like island adventure campaign. So like bunch of seafaring stuff, go from island to island. There I had like all sorts of, I went way overboard on world building and all that kind of stuff. Like I was researching like salt trading and all,
I remember that.
like
That's awesome.
the beginnings of empires and like nonsense like that. Like I went really deep.
So what came first? Was it the theme, or was it some of the mechanics of the game? Like which way did you kind of come at this?
I mean, it was the mechanics of the game. It was always going to be around like some kind of like island adventure kind of idea. And originally we had like placeholder, I had placeholders of like some kind of like steampunkish or Magitech sci-fi kind of vibe with more, just
I think you
original
had a theme
gritty
that you built mechanics around, but then we didn't use that theme.
Yeah,
I mean, kind of the easy answer here.
Yeah, I mean, there was, really this Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I was like, I'm just going to turn this into a board game.
Yeah. So there was a theme first, but that's not the theme we used, which we'll get to why after.
So I want to know why now. Why?
So,
you want to?
Yeah, just like the short version. So he decided to do the whole Dungeons and Dragons thing, like Crazy Man in the Cabin syndrome, like coming up with all this stuff. And we played one or two.
We did one session, and then we did a one shot, and then
he was like,
schedules never aligned.
Never again, because we were like older, and everyone had jobs and kids and things. So I was actually pregnant at the time.
Okay.
And with our first son, and we actually spent a whole night with his friend Paul, who was like,
he's like our main play tester for Quests and Cannons.
And
he was a huge help.
He was like, oh, we should make characters, because I really like psychology and stuff. So he's like, we should make characters based on our own personalities. And I was like, okay, that sounds fun. I didn't realize it was gonna be this like spiritual awakening, like intense thing. So we're like at our house and we're going over all different like D&D races and like what they all mean and how much depth is there, and like giving ourselves like points for like different charismas and wisdom and all this other stuff. And we're like, all right, we'll end this at midnight. And we looked at the clock again and it was like 6 a.m.
Wow.
It was like, I don't know what happened here. But so then months later, we had the baby. We're totally sleep deprived, like in a bad way.
Bad way.
Colicky one. So my friend comes over to visit the baby, and her
PTSD from that. Sorry.
Yeah, her boyfriend comes over, and he is like this incredible artist.
Yeah,
like you could use a microscope to look at his art and miss something. It's so detailed.
Like pencil sketches with like high resolution detail. Wow. It's like really incredible.
It's nuts. So Eric's looking at his sketchbook, and then was like, blah, game. Like the next day, he had the same board like style you see right now.
Yep.
He had already cut out of paper and had it like all over the table. Like everything was crazy.
Wow.
So he was like, we're going to do the steampunk pirates. And I'm like, I like that, but that's not a box that I would probably pull off the shelf myself. Like I need something a little floofier.
Yeah.
If I'm going to want to play. So then he was like, well, what do you have in mind? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, what about like a bunny, duck, and pig, kind of like a Looney Tunes playoff? I was like,
yeah, like fantasy.
No. Yeah. So he was saying that, and I was like, no. And I was like, what about if we combine the Dungeons and Dragons races with those animals though? So then I was like, pork, like just like came out, and I was like, that is wicked funny. We're gonna have to like go down this path. So then we did. And then Eric's telling me about the gameplay mechanics and whatever, and I was like, no.
The original gameplay mechanics were pretty crunchy.
It was a lot.
There's like crew members that they had like upkeep with food, and you had to go to the islands. Like maybe sometimes you scavenge for food, or sometimes you like pillage towns to get
like
enough points. It was pretty involved.
So you've taken this game and you've now condensed it down, and the playtime now is what, like an hour and a half?
It's about 20 minutes per player. Like we're consistently with six players, you're getting in at about 2 hours.
So that's cool. So I'm going to share this page with people that are watching this live or on the replay. First of all, congratulations. You got 50. I'm gonna put this in Canadian dollars. It always sounds bigger, and it's the only way I can see it. But $59,000 on a target of about $22,500. That is incredible. That's a very, very successful campaign. Still got 8 days to go, so there's always hockey sticks at the back. So it's obviously going to go much higher than that. Take us through kind of how you play this game. Like, give us the essence of how you play this game. I'm going to kind of just scroll through these visuals as you do that.
I just have one more thing to add to the last segment. Sorry to do this.
Sure.
But how he hijacked me into designing the game with him, how that was born, was he kept asking me, what would you change? What would you condense? How would you change it? And I didn't realize he was hijacking me into being co-designer.
She's always been my developer, and she didn't know it at first.
I didn't want it, but then once it was happening, I was like, all right, I'm invested. This is like coming out, like it seems more like both of us now. So then I started liking it. It had like Stockholm syndrome, but it was like fun and great. So
yeah, the art is very, very fun. We can see here on the page. It looks awesome. They did a great job. So walk us through, how do you play this game? What's the essence of this game? You got 6 boats I see, and you got a kind of a center hex map, right? It's very kind of Catan-esque, and it's
yeah. There's definitely some inspiration from Catan for sure. I mean, we wanted to create accessible game, that like resource management idea. But we want to move away from like chance, like the chance aspect of resource gathering. So you're going to be picking one of, now we have 12 playable characters, because we unlocked the 3 extra ones with a flash funding goal, which is awesome. The goblins, the turkey goblins.
Mm-hmm.
That one's fun. But anyways, so you are one of 12 heroic champions. The game plays up to 6 players. It has a solo mode, and up to 3 players co-op, and then free for all in teams. So a bunch of different varieties of playing, but you're going to be taking control of a heroic champion sent to explore these islands. So all the islands have exploration tokens on them that start off hidden, and on the underneath side of them they have a different resource on them, and that tells you what resource that island produces. So you're going to be using action points each turn to move around the board, uncovering the resources on the islands. You get quests from the islands as you land on them, and then you can use action points to gather that type of resource, to fulfill quests, to upgrade your ship. And then additionally, you have other victory paths, like the map clues. You'll start with one map clue, and you can get more from the trading post, and you get more map clues as you complete them. It's kind of like this exploration series of objective that exists in the game.
So how does that work? So this map clue, what's that all about? So you get the clue, and it helps you like find like a treasure map, or
so there it's kind of like the it's our representation of kind of like our narrative hook.
Okay.
There's a lore video on the page, so that's our narrative trailer that
cool.
tells of that one was fun to it was a fun direction. First time we put together that stuff, of course. It was definitely a process, but it came out really cool. We're excited about that. But yeah, so essentially that as this cataclysmic event happened, as the three nations of the world, Mirrorheim, have drifted away from their connection with the source, the islands rise up, and they start migrating to them and finding them to be plentiful in resources, and they find these strange writings that tell of a series of map clues that lead to a powerful artifact that could restore balance to the world. So these map clues are kind of that representation of that narrative hook, and they'll tell you to go to a specific island, and it's mechanically you're spending an action point there to either get a loot card or prosperity, which prosperity is our word for victory points. So that's the representation in the game. And then you draw a new map clue that tells you to go to a different island, and you keep doing that from island to island. And then the second half of scoring a map clue is like basically returning that knowledge back to your home port to kind of like archive them. So that's kind of the second like thematic tie-in with that.
So is there, and you can keep replaying. So when people sometimes hear, clues or have to unlock or discover something in a game, you sometimes get the sense that, okay, once I've played it once, then I can't really, I've already discovered it. It's not, but
it's mechanically, it's a representation of the idea, but the clue is more the game. So the gameplay is essentially like a navigation and efficiency puzzle. Each time you play, you're trying to figure out the most effective route through the Risen Islands to complete multiple objectives while you're upgrading your ship, and enough to maybe come from behind to overtake someone that's maybe focusing on like rushing for completing objectives. So each game is going to feel like there's a unique puzzle to it, because the locations of the resources are going to change each time. The quests that you get are going to change each time. The map clues that you get each time are going to change. So every time
your strategy has to change.
Yeah, your strategy has to be adapted to whatever
is around you. Because like sometimes I play and I'm like, all right, I'm going to immediately upgrade my ship and increase my sails so I have more speed. And sometimes you play and there's no canvas near you at all. So you're better off trying to maybe open up a cargo slot or maybe quickly complete that other quest. So you definitely have to have an adaptive strategy. If you think you're going into it the same way each time, you're going to lose. Yeah, for sure.
So one thing I thought was really interesting is how versatile this game is, right? So you can do quests, you can do engine building, you can you can actually attack people, right? So the ships, you can actually attack other pirates, right, in the world, and gain victory points that way. So there's these different types of play styles you can play, I guess, independent of each other, or a combination permutations of them, right?
Usually combining them is the surest path to victory, but you can focus solely on one, and if you can do it really well, then you can come out winning.
And then you can like a 1 to 6 player, but you can also do like 2-on-2, 3-on-3. You can have teams. Like it seems like there's so many different kind of combinations you guys have built in here to.
Yeah, you can do 3 teams of 2, which is that's my personal favorite. That one's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And how's that work? Like how's the teams work? It just becomes like you're trading off each other, or how would that work?
So the team play is actually kind of like this built-in ramp to have a bit more depth to the game. So in teams, you're gonna
I think
be.
it could add depth, or it can even simplify, depending on how you
Oh,
approach it.
that's
'cause-
true. Because I mean, teams also helps with, if you have someone newer, being on a team with someone lets you, share information. It lets you like help someone strategize and get more fluid in the game. So teams is both a way to, help someone who's new, but also because you're combining strategies with another, like there's two champions or three champions on a team, you're combining those strategies. You can trade resources, map clues, loot, ammo, coins with your teammate. So it opens up a whole another layer of strategy that you can do in the game. Maybe one player goes across the board to pick up gems, and another player is like running interference with cannons. You meet up at an outpost, and like your cargo champion has like a full set of resources, and then like mass upgrades both ships.
While they're trying to open up cargo slots, they don't have as much availability to go get stuff. So you can really strategize heavily there. But one thing that, like when he would ask me to play games, if he'd be like, oh, we can play on a team, I'd be like, all right, it's less intimidating to know that you can be on a team.
Yeah.
But something I found in talking to a lot of other people in our dynamic, whether it's men or women, it could be the opposite of us. Someone's a heavier nerd and someone's not, but they're married and they want to do stuff together. And what would happen is like, okay, you're playing on a team, but then he knows so much more. So he winds up kind of just doing everything. And I'm like a warm body and really bored. So with quests and cannons, whether you're on a team or not, you still have your own ship that you're responsible for. So you can't just be a warm body. Like you are actually engaged and you're playing. And what I have personally loved is usually by turn 3, anybody who's playing, the more like experienced person will be like, oh, do this, do that, or whatever. And the other person's like, no. After like turn 3, they're like, I get it. And I'm doing my own plan too. Like, I want to do this. And then the other person's like, what are you doing? And they tell them, they're like, oh yeah, that's cool too. So you see people start to evolve as gamers and their confidence build, and just being able to like get in there and have the confidence, like work off the other person, but then be on their own a little bit too is really cool to see. Yeah.
So in this, when you're attacking a ship, are you taking like if you destroy their ship, or can you sink their ship? Like, are they out of the game, or is it just, do they respawn?
No, it's respawn. We actually, and we tried player elimination at the start, and it
sucks.
Didn't go. Yeah,
that's not fun.
It sucks.
And then let's talk about these, because I don't want to miss out on this, but I'm showing it on the shared screen. Is these player boards you've got, the dual layer player boards are just really, really slick. Everything kind of nests in the board. Was this something that you knew you were going to do right out of the gate, or is this something kind of evolved through the process?
We definitely wanted to do cool player boards from the start. My original design was not as cool as the one that Shannon designed here.
Yeah, it's super slick, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Thank you. That was definitely the cleaning and organizing aspect of things. And also, Eric and I, you can probably tell, both have like wicked ADHD. So, with the player board, I thought a lot about that, like what like prohibits someone from being able to focus or play. We have 3 dogs and we can't control that, so sorry if that's happening. But I was just like, all right, I want to do something that streamlines the play, is intuitive, it makes sense. Sails are obviously at the top. Cannons would fire from like the middle of the ship, and cargo would be at the bottom. And also just to like organize everything you're doing. So if someone's like, I got to get up, I want to go to the bathroom, I'm going to go outside for a minute, and you come back, you know exactly what you're doing. Yeah. Like it's all right there. So if and you do have to manage a lot in quests and cannons. There's like a lot going on simultaneously.
Yeah.
So you just look at your board, and sometimes you can be like, oh my God, what was I doing? Because it's like when you get to your turn, you're like, it's like, do I want to do this or that next? Like, there's so much happening. So the board just organizes everything. You can look at it and be like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go. So that was the goal.
So what we look at this page, I mean, and you can scroll, and it seems like you're scrolling for like 10 minutes, and doesn't seem like there's any end to it.
I have a funny story on that.
Clearly put a lot of time and effort into this. and part of it is a lot of the reviewers, right? You've had a lot of reviewers, a lot of previewers. Take us through your kind of your marketing process on that, on the decision to do reviews and previews, and what did that look like? So for another developer out there that might want to take this path, like what was involved with that?
Yeah, so we have a self-publishing diary that we try and do regular updates on, and one of them is on organizing a review campaign. But I looked at a couple case studies that did large review campaigns. I was like, all right, that's a way to, get your game out there and have a successful Kickstarter campaign. I looked at Exodus: Rise of the Corruption that did phenomenally well. I think they have Fractal Beyond the Void, maybe I think it is.
Doomlings is another example of a company that did that.
Yeah. And Cristallo, I think, did a solid review campaign.
Kiefer.
Yeah. Yep. Did really solid review campaign, like limited ad spend, and crushed it. So I was like, okay, that's definitely going to be a leg of our marketing campaign. I started a year before we sent out our first preview copies and started talking to previewers, reviewers, and whatnot, content creators, and started building a list of people that we wanted to send copies to. And then we were crazy and made 25 preview copies.
Wow.
In our basement.
Yeah.
And those cases, did you have to ship them from like one previewer to another in order to kind of spread them around?
So
or?
I should show you my spreadsheet that I have for that.
Not
right now, but I'll send you it if you want to see it. But we organized a spreadsheet that kept track of different routes, so that we organized it into 25 different waves in each or 25 different routes, and then organized it into waves. So every time it moved from one reviewer to another reviewer, that was the next wave of that route. And then just following up with people on a consistent schedule. Lots of USPS shipping labels.
Yeah, it's not cheap either, right? Like I don't think people necessarily realize that even if you produce like 50 copies of the game or even 100 copies of the game, those are digital prototypes. Those are not, that's not a run, right? So that your cost per game is you're pretty much paying retail per copy or higher, right? So go ahead.
So that's actually one of the strengths that we had with our preview campaign, is that if you have a makerspace that's near you, we are actually able to use a laser cutter at a local makerspace.
Oh, nice.
So we did a lot of the prototyping ourselves, like all the player boards, the terrain tiles, the champion tiles, the frame of the board. We prototyped those ourselves.
Wow.
Which was a lot of work.
I was like 7 months pregnant.
But it would have been and Shannon was 7 months pregnant.
Lots of people
she's a champion.
They got the first prototype. They were the first in line. Was like, whoa, soot.
Yeah, exactly. You
get
that
lot of soot. We're like, we really did try to wipe that all down. There was just like a lot. It was from the laser cutter.
It's part of the beast, I guess, right?
Yeah, but it would have been cost prohibitive to, those player boards are gigantic.
Yeah.
It would have been absolutely cost prohibitive to do even a small run of quests and cannons to send out to previewers or reviewers. That it would have not been possible.
So this is the first of 3 chapters of the story. How do people kind of follow along if they want to get into this whole ecosystem of this world you've created? How best they follow along to see kind of how the story is going to continue on beyond this Kickstarter campaign?
So the Quests and Cannons Facebook group is definitely going to be the number one. But we have Instagram and Twitter. We're most consistently posting content to the Facebook group, and that will be the same group for the entire Quests and Cannons saga.
Yeah.
So it's going to be everyone that enjoys the Risen Islands, that enjoys the dungeon crawl, that enjoys that world scale epic boss battle that will finish it off. So it's going to be that same group for hopefully years.
And is the handle literally Quests and Cannons? Is that how they find it?
Yeah, Quests and Cannons. It should be it's probably Facebook /groups/quests and cannons instead of the ampersand.
Got it.
but I'd have to check that one again.
Our
And-
newsletter too is a good way to keep
Yeah,
up with
the-
us.
our-
We
our
write
newsletter.
long, detailed updates in that once a month. We don't spam you unless, of course, we're running
Yeah.
a campaign, and then we are updating you a little bit more.
And they can
Yeah.
find that at shorthotgames.com. Is that where they'd find that?
Right now, because we're working with Next Level Web, and our main website is a landing page that was more tuned for
Okay,
ads
gotcha.
to bring people
Yep.
to now it's the Kickstarter. So the best way to get on the newsletter right now, we're gonna have to work on changing that, but there's a link on the Kickstarter page.
Perfect. And they can find that Kickstarter page if you check out the show notes of this podcast, whether it's the audio version or even watching the YouTube version here. Check out the show notes below, and you can find a link to this Kickstarter campaign, Quests and Cannons. Guys, this looks so exciting. I am just pumped for you. And man, I know this is going to fit a lot of people's wheelhouses. So congratulations again on this campaign. Eh?
Thank you. I have one thing to say to us, like people that want to design games.
Sure.
The board game design community is the nicest group of people I've ever met in my life, and it's
Facts.
not competitive. They are so willing to help you and teach you everything they know, and that has really gotten us to where we are today.
I was
thank
blown
people.
away by
Yeah.
how much information there is just like freely available, like the knowledge documents that people have put
the
together.
time they'll spend with you.
It's wild.
Really awesome. So I just wanted to say that.
Oh,
'cause
thanks.
we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And one other way people can do that is continue to follow the Board Game Binge podcast, because we talk about games,
yeah.
designs, how to
Definitely.
market,
Yeah.
all that stuff under the hood. Guys, all the best on this kite campaign in this coming year. Eh? You take care.
Thank you so
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply join the Facebook group Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.